Okay, next up we're going to talk about marker pens. They deserve the category of their own, like brushes and spray cans and all that. Obviously, I couldn't do a full course on marker pens, but at least they need a mention because they're so versatile and so useful. I use them all the time with my work, and sometimes there's nothing that can do the job as well as marker pens. So say, for example, if I did a job for Mac, and I was doing some lipstick in there, and I wanted the text to be very precise and all that. And I couldn't quite use masking tape, and it would have taken too long or whatever. And with a spray can, you can only go as clean as you can, but the edges are still a bit fuzzy. So I just use one of those in white, and then got some really crisp lines. So they work really well. In my kit, I've got a few black ones and a few white ones. I don't really use the colored ones so much, but definitely having some black and some white, I recommend that. I don't use ink pens. This is a whiteboard marker. And that's a Sharpie. I use those for preparing the course because I had to write so much. But apart from that, I never use a Sharpie and I never use a whiteboard marker. Papermate or something are kind of cool, but anything to do with ink markers is going to be a nightmare. If I do a smiley face with one of those paint markers, so paint marker pen, ink marker pen. If I do a smiley face with a paint marker pen, once it dries, I can paint over it, and then you won't see it. Maybe if it's black and then I paint over with white, maybe I need a couple of coats. But after that, that's it, end of story. If I paint a smiley face with this, I can paint over it, and it's going to keep coming through. The only way to stop it is to apply some lacquer, and that's what's going to stop the whole thing. It's a bit of a faff, so I don't recommend using those marker pens. Sharpies have their use also, but don't use them in your work because you make any type of mistake or the client changes his mind or her mind, want to do something else, that's going to keep coming through. So don't use those. Use some type of water-based marker. It doesn't have to be Posca. It could be Moloto Do One, and there's another one that escapes me. There are a few people that do them. Paint marker pens. That's what you want to get. You don't want to get ink. I like those because they have a different purpose. This is a PC5M, and it's a bullet tip. This is good for anything kind of small. This is becoming one of my favorite. It's a bullet tip. It is PC7M. I used to use a chisel tip, but I find the chisel tip get worn out too much. And this is 17K, yeah, PC17K. This one is really good. This is a straight marker. And this is the most versatile because you can do something kind of big and you can use the edges to do some smaller things. So if I was to do a straight line, and you can see how opaque this is on the side, I get this. And then if I just use the corner, I can get loads of different thicknesses. With the other ones, it's just how much I press, but it's a bit more limited. I just find this is such a good tip to use. And this one is just a bit thinner. I wouldn't go for, well, personally, I don't go smaller than this one, the 5M, because I find when they get smaller, they don't, you get a lot of this where it doesn't paint properly. Even this one. So for murals, definitely, I find this is as small as you can go. You can go bigger, but if you go bigger or smaller, you get the same thing. There's not enough paint that goes to the tip, and then you end up struggling. They work, they're fine, but I find these three are definitely the best combination that you can get. Now, the way they work is a bit different to a normal marker pen. So say if we use this whiteboard marker, you just open it and you start working. Off you go. Inside of this, there's like a cartridge of like this moist thing is soaked and it's touching the nib, and you can work with it. And once it's done, it's done. With these, they work a bit differently. You can open them. They've got some glue, but if you open them counterclockwise, you can access the paint. I said in the airbrush segment, you can use that as an airbrush paint. It's a really good paint. You can use it with a brush as well. It's very nice, very opaque, and it works well. You can open them all together and then mix your colors and make your own colors. I've done that. It's kind of fun. Cool. So how do they work? They come wrapped in this plastic. Just grab the 2 bits and do that. I did a job for, it was the Olympics for Adidas, and they bought, I think, 300 and they were there like trying to pick up the thing. They didn't know that you just spin it. So it might seem silly, and that's why I'm showing you this, because once you've used them, you know, but if you haven't, maybe you won't think about it. So what you do is you shake them, and just to show you, you can take those out and you can buy spare nibs and replace them. I'll put that back. So you shake them, and then what you want to do is you want to dab. So there's a spring, so you want to press on the nib. You'd have to do that about 20, 30 times, or you can just press and wait. Do a bit of this. You just have to be careful once they're primed. Once the paint is there, you don't really want to dab and then shake, otherwise you'll have paint splashing everywhere. It's happened. Actually, don't use these on the plane. Once I had a mate that wanted me to sign his book, and he had a brand new one of this. We literally opened it, one dab, and the whole pen just went everywhere because of the pressure of the plane. So don't use them on the plane. Okay, there we go. It's actually a really good silver. The gold is okay, but I find the silver is a really good one. The copper is pretty cool as well. I guess some of it is down to taste. But yeah, when you're doing murals, sometimes, say if you're using a can, you might be doing a lot of the. You might be doing most of the work with a can, and maybe you want to use this for the eyelashes or something like that. Some people don't like it. They think it's cheating or something, whatever. Do whatever you're comfortable with. Personally, I don't really like mixing the two. I like using these for like text and stuff like that. But if you use these in portraits, for example, or if you're doing a car or elephant, whatever, it's good to grab a bit of paint and dust a bit of paint on top of this, because these are ultra matte. I mean, this is a matte, well, not this one, but say this is a matte paint, but this is ultra matte, and you really see the difference, and it looks a bit like you've used the marker pen, so it's not great. So say if you were to do the eyelashes or the lips or whatever with the marker pen, once you're done, take a bit of paint and dust a little bit of paint just to knock some of the matte properties of this, so it's a little bit more shiny and it works a bit better. It's a bit more seamless. But you definitely want to grab a few paint marker pens of the brands that you like. It's going to come in really useful for your work.